It is 9:30, so we will get started. Thank you all for being here this morning. Welcome to the Prosperous Napier Committee meeting. Could we all please stand for our opening karakia? Tūtawa mai I runga, tūtawa mai I raro, tūtawa mai I roto, tūtawa mai I waho. Kia tau ai te mauri tū, te mauri ora, ki te katoa, haumi e, hui e, ai e. Good morning to everyone who is joining us online, and just a reminder that we are beaming out this morning. I have apologies first. We have apologies this morning from Councillor Brown, Councillor Price, Councillor Tareha, and from Evelyn Ratima, our member from Ngā Manukunuku o Te Iwi. Can I have someone to move those, please? Thank you, Councillor Mawson. Seconded, Councillor Crystal. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. That's carried. Do we have any conflicts of interest on this morning's very light agenda? No? Great. And we have no one in our public forum. Any announcements by the Mayor? Any announcements from our Chief Executive? And calling for any minor matters? No? Great. All right, well, we'll start off with our confirmation of minutes. I'm looking for someone to move that the minutes of the Prosperous Napier Committee meeting held on Thursday the 28th of May March, are taken as a true and accurate record of the meeting. Thank you. Moved Councillor Gregg, seconded Councillor Taylor. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. That is carried. Thank you. All right, we will move on to our first agenda item, first of two, the Treasury Activity and Funding Update. I like to think of it as, have you got a dollar bill, y'all? And we have Gary Hrstinski to present the paper. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. The answer is now yes. The purpose of this report is to update the Prosperous Napier Committee on Council's Treasury activity. So given that 2 weeks are required between creating the report and presenting the report to committee, some material changes have occurred. As of today, there are no term deposits on hand. And also, Council borrowed a further $10 million from the LGFA. This puts Council borrowing $20 million. This is still within the original forecast of $67 million for the end of this financial year. So those, it was two tranches of $5 million each. The first one is at a rate of 5.73% and the second one at 5.79%, and that was for 5 years and 6 years respectively. I'll take the remainder of the paper as read.
Thank you, Gary, and I will open for questions. Deputy Mayor Brosnan.
Thank you, Gary. Could you just clarify those interest rates? Again, they might be different in the report to what you just read.
Oh, no, sorry. That's in addition to the amounts in the report. So we've got $10 million that has been borrowed, which was within that report. But given there was a time period of 2 weeks between the report being produced and the borrowing, there's an additional. So that the report would now be $20 million.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you, I understand.
Thank you. Good pick up there. Anyone else? No? Well, I will look to the recommendation that we received that Treasury Activity and Funding Update report on today. Can I have someone to move it, please? Thank you, Deputy Mayor Brosnan. Second, Councillor Taylor. Would either of you wish to speak to that?
Just very briefly in support of the paper, I think you know what's good about our financial position is that we do sit within our debt to income ratios. And whilst these numbers always seem, and we have this conversation during LTP, you know, it's really hard for an individual household to sort of understand the kind of numbers that we're talking about here in relation to the funding of our organisation. But when we have those independent sort of checks, I suppose, in terms of compliance, it's good to see that we're meeting all of those and that we're well within our debt limits. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Nothing further to add.
Thank you. Well, I will put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye.
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 Against? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
And you're hanging out with us for the second one, obviously,
I'm sorry.
as well. You're welcome.
What do we call
No pithy introduction this time to our second agenda item, which is our investment property portfolio policy. for the leasehold, and this was a paper, the policy we asked staff to go away and get a little bit of further review, legal review on. So I'll hand over to you, Gary.
Thank you. That's correct. So the purpose of reports to review the aforementioned policy. So it was previously presented to the Prosperous Napier Committee in February, but committee had concerns for the lessees with changes proposed. So since that meeting, we discussed the contracts with Willis Legal, who represent us in managing the leasehold contracts. So it was confirmed by Willis Legal that the rights of lessees are strong. The following observations were also made during those discussions. So provided they continue to pay their rent, then there is no obligation for the lessee to vacate their lease. The lessee has discretion to review their lease, not the lessor. At the expiry of one lease, should the wording change in the contract, it must still be like for like, and this does often happen, but essentially it will be the same contract rolling each time. And the rights of the lessee are not extinguished if the contract is sold. So to provide some further comfort to council and to the lessee, a clause for right of first refusal has been included in the policy, just for clarity. And I'll take the remainder of the report as being read.
Thank you, Gary. Any questions? Councillor Crystal.
Just with that, with the leasee, when their lease rolls over, like for like, but can the lease go up and can you put the money up, what they pay?
Okay, through the chairperson. So what does happen as part of the process of renewing the contract is that there is a review of the valuation of the property, and this is essentially a negotiation between the lessee and the lessor to agree on what that will be, and then the rent on the lease is reflective of that amount. Yeah.
Thank you. Anyone else? Oh, sorry, Deputy Mayor Brosnan.
Just looking at the attachments, in particular the investment property portfolio policy, I was finding it difficult to understand what, if any, substantial changes have been made to that particular policy. Are you able to clarify that for me?
Of course, through the chair. So, just looking back at my notes from when we originally presented. So some of the material changes are that there was, in the original policy, there was reference to some outdated reports and using that as part of the valuation methodology. So those have been removed because it makes sense to do a current valuation and assessment on the property for the various characteristics contained within the policy, rather than looking at something that's old. So there is a time value to the information that was in it. So that was removed. So in terms of the lease contracts, they're already prescribed and fairly inflexible, which is something sort of further clarified today. So amendments will allow council to explore offers from other buyers where the lessee declines an offer of freeholding, so that we still do have some further opportunities outside of that. But as we've highlighted again, that there's no obligation for the lessee to leave the property or to end the contract or anything like that, if council should pursue that approach. And the other main one also is that there's been a number of policies presented to council over the last several months that have started introducing the idea of the CCTO within them. And so this isn't to say that the CCTO will take over, but it provides the option that if council does look at that, post-consultation, that we've got the ability to do it within the policies as well. So it's really just opening the door to being able to take these options so that we don't have to come back again to council and re-present with those amendments.
Thank you, Gary. That was helpful. And so just to confirm, none of the changes to that particular policy make any substantial changes or substantive changes to the council resolution in June 18 around what can and can't be freeholded?
Through the chair, that's correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Looks like we don't have any further questions. So we'll look to the recommendation that we approve the amended investment property portfolio policy leasehold. I'm happy to move that from the chair. Can I have someone to second it, please? Thank you, Councillor Mawson. Did you wish to speak to it?
Just that I'm happy with the changes from the clarification from our legal team.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, agree, total call. So I will put that motion unless anyone wants to speak against it this morning? No? I will put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thank you, Gary.
Thank you.
Gary.
And I know Councillor Price, even though he's not here, he likes to talk about how he runs a very lean, quick meeting, but I suspect that this morning's might even beat his record that he holds. So if we could just stand for our closing karakia. Ki tau te rangi Māori, ki runga i ngā iwi katoa o ahuriri. Kia piki te ora, te kaha me te māramatanga i ngā wā katoa, ti hei Māori ora.